I left Christianity 10 years ago. It's about 10 years ago. And some people have asked me, well, a lot of people are wondering if I'll ever go back, what doubts or what my journey has been. And I thought, getting close to that 10-year anniversary of when I made the video that I wasn't a Christian anymore, kind of like a coming out video of not being Christian, because I had been so outspoken about being a Christian that I just felt I had to make that video. And so I thought it would be a good retrospective to look back, and I never really, at least in that video, I don't remember if I made another video afterwards explaining why I left Christianity, but that video, I just looked at it a couple hours ago, and it was mostly me being lost and confused and a bit hopeless, and rambling and not being able to pronounce words correctly. And that's sort of what I'm doing here, except now I'm not lost and I am very hopeful and I'm very happy. So I wanted to look back upon my journey of leaving Christianity. I left it so long ago now, man. So I sort of wrote some notes down because I do tend to ramble, so I just want to keep on track. So this is not a video that's hours long. Nobody wants that. So I'll go by points. What's on my mouth? Anyways, number one, the reason that I left Christianity, I didn't leave it because I wanted to sort of like explore the secular world and go into a world of sinfulness and try drugs and sex and all these other things. I still haven't gone into that world of perdition, as it were to say. I didn't do it because I wanted to explore outside of Christianity. I genuinely left it because I just couldn't believe the things that I had believed my entire life up to that point. And so one of the things that did happen, at the moment where I sort of started to really lose my faith, the ironic part is that I was the closest I had ever felt to God. I was like completely committed to God. At the time, I was a youth leader at the church. When I lost my faith, one of the first things I did was quit because I felt like a fraud, being sort of guiding this youth into the heavenly sphere of godliness and worshiping God and all that stuff. And I couldn't believe it myself, so how could I guide anyone? Anyway, so one of the first things I did was quit. But as I was saying, I was the closest I'd ever been to God. So how do you get to the closest to just completely falling out of it? And one of the things that happened is that one of my struggles as a youth, as a teen, as it is for many teens out there, you're this Christian and you start to have these biological feelings and urges of being attracted to either the same sex or different sex or any sex. I was attracted to the opposite sex and still am. That's not the point. I don't know exactly why I wrote notes to keep me on track, and I'm still not keeping myself on track, but I have to do a little thing to I'm gonna be checked for ADHD soon, so and that may explain some things. But my point is, I had urges, and those urges led me into porn and masturbation, and that was a struggle through my teen years, and trying to quit that was a constant struggle. And there I was, the closest I had ever been to God, and I had left that for a while. I hadn't looked at porn or played with myself for a while, and one day it just happened. I had this relapse into that stuff, and I was like, why did it happen? I'm the closest I've ever been to God. My spirit should be the strongest it's ever been. I should be able to resist this little stupid insignificant temptation, and that didn't really shake my faith. But because I had that relapse, I just went even deeper into the Bible. I went deeper into worshiping God, and so I was devouring the Bible and reading, and just like marching around with the Bible and reading Psalms and all these other books of the Bible, just like being God. I can't I can't quit this thing even with your strength. Why is this happening? And so I kept reading, and I came down. I don't remember. I have to look for it, the exact psalm that I read, but it was this sort of promise. There was this promise in Psalms, and I was like, wait, God promised this thing, but it's not really happening in my life. This is like a broken promise. Did God break a promise? And I know that I had already, like, a long time, because I made videos about Christianity and all these things. I've heard about the inconsistencies of the Bible and all that stuff, but there were always these explanations that people said. So I was one of the apologists that sort of made excuses for the inconsistencies and the stuff that doesn't quite make sense in Christianity and the Bible. But here I was like the closest I've ever been to God, feeling like God broke this promise. And that sort of opened this flood door of all these doubts and thoughts that I had before about Christianity. And it was like I kept in this sort of hidden room that I called the doubt room, where it was all these doubts and stuff, like, all these things don't quite make sense to me, but they don't make sense because maybe my brain is just not rational or intelligent enough to understand these things that are way beyond me, and I just trust that God knows better than me. And so I just shoved those thoughts and doubts into that room, and that little broken promise broke that door, and everything came flashing back into my mind. And maybe I'll make a video, if you want, later on in the future about all the things. One of the things, it was funny because when I made all those videos about Christianity and helping people have more faith and like get rid of doubts and stuff like that, it's kind of crazy to think about it now, but sometimes while I was making those videos, I was like, it's kind of fortunate for God that I'm on his side, because I could make such a good argument against it. And it's crazy that I thought that as a Christian, and I still completely believed in God. It's crazy. Anyways, so yeah, that's sort of why I left. So I dove deep, like I saw. After that, the doubts came back in, and I started to look again at the inconsistencies that I had either excused or ignored before. I sort of want to say some of them, but that's not what this video is about. Again, if some of you are interested in the specifics of that, I could definitely get into more of that. It's already 8 minutes long, and this is just the first point. Holy crap. Anyways, so all of that could have been forgiven. I could have put all that stuff back into that room, but then because I was like so devastated because of all those doubts flooding back in and all that stuff, again I dove even deeper into the Bible and into God and all these things, and I went to fast. And I fasted, and I said, I'm gonna fast until God responds. I'm not gonna. I still drank some water, but I wasn't gonna eat. I was just gonna stay in my room and be there until God explained things to me. Just sort of, it didn't need to show. Like I by the end of it, I was just asking for a little simple, little tiny sign that He was even listening to me, that He cared a little bit about me. And at the end of when I finally gave up on that fast, as I cried and I screamed at the ceiling because I couldn't see the sky, I said, God, please, just talk to me. And He never did. He just never did. He never showed up. And my thing is, like, if you love this being so much, I mean, you've lived your entire life for this being, and they truly love you, why purposely make it so hard for you to trust that they're actually listening to you? And I know if a Christian is listening to this, you'll have all your little excuses, and I'm not here to make you leave God. I'm just explaining my journey And whatever your journey is, as long as you're not hurting yourself or other people, that's your journey, and I respect it. But God just never responded, and he never came to me when I needed him, when I asked for him, and still to this day, you know, if you want to show up now, that would be pretty crazy, and then that could completely turn around the whole purpose of this video. But it's not gonna happen. Didn't happen then, hasn't happened since, and it's not gonna happen now. I can tell you that. So let's go to point number 2. What actually changed after I was truthful with myself and I said, okay, I just can't believe in Christianity anymore. I can't believe in God, at least not the God of the Bible that I've preached and believed and worshipped my whole life. What changed after that? And the answer, my friend, will surprise you. Or maybe not. Because what changed was nothing. Nothing changed. You know, aside from me, like, internally, I was completely lost. I felt like I had no purpose. It was a complete state of hopelessness, and just like I never felt like I wanted to die, but I did feel like, why live? Like, what am I living for? What is the purpose of going on forward? If I thought I had this like grand purpose that I had to live up to, and I felt like I was chosen. I felt invincible because I had this purpose that I had to fulfill, and nothing could get in the way of it. So if I didn't reach that purpose on my journey, nothing could stop me, nothing could kill me. I literally felt like I was invincible, like I said. But when I left Christianity, you know, aside from all that internal stuff, externally, nothing changed. And you would just think, okay, if this is making such a big difference in my life, you know, being a Christian, believing in God, if that's making a huge difference, something's got to change, right? Either everything's gonna be worse because, you know, I don't have God protecting me or caring for me anymore, and I'm turning my back on God. You think something bad is gonna happen. Nothing bad happened. Nothing good happened either. It just, everything stayed the same. And you would think, okay, maybe because I don't have the protection of God anymore, now that the devil and the demons who were always trying to get at me before, now they have a chance because I don't have the protection of God. And some of you may be thinking, well, just because you left God doesn't mean God left you. But again, something would have to have changed. I mean, I would have taken that as a sign of something, right? If something had changed, it's like, wait a minute. I mean, maybe God doesn't. What's happening here? Like, Christianity was doing something for me because something changed, but nothing changed. The devil wasn't like, if the devil didn't make my life worse, if he was real or not, he didn't make my life better to think that my life was better outside of Christianity. Just nothing externally changed. Until I started changing things for myself, of course, down the line. You know, I think that's the next point that we're going to get to. Number 3, rebuilding and finding purpose, right? Because after that, after being so hopelessly and lost and just not knowing where to go, where do you go? What do you do from there? Do you just lay down and cry and die? No, sir. That's definitely not what I did. I went on a journey of trying to find the absolute truth. I wanted, like, because I didn't believe in Christianity anymore, but I still believed that I could find the ultimate truth. That I thought I had found it for so long, and I just clung onto it and clutched it close to my heart, not letting it go for so long. And I thought this was the truth, and my hand was empty. But I wanted to fill my hand again and find that truth that I thought that I had. And so that's what I started to try and do. And for like, I made this like little purpose for myself. I thought, okay, so I don't have a purpose anymore. Let's sort of just make a purpose for myself. And the one that I decided to make, temporarily at least, I thought that would be my purpose for the rest of my life. And I still think it's one of the purposes that I do have, but it's not my main ultimate purpose. But at the time I said, okay, my purpose is just to tickle people's souls. I'm just going to entertain in a constructive way. that's what tickling souls is to me, just touching people in a way that they feel good, but they also gain something more than just being entertained. And so I that became my temporary purpose at the time, and I tried to search for the truth. I don't even think I searched for, I mean, I did search for a long time, but I don't think I searched intensely, because I sort of just dove into that tickling soul purpose sort of thing. And again, I searched for the truth, and of course, I came out as I came out as non-Christian to my family, and I did it in a very dramatic way with my sister. I wrote this whole essay that I thought at the time that I was gonna make into a whole book that was gonna be called Doubt Room. It was about all the doubts and why I left Christianity, and explaining everything in very detailed fashion. And so I wrote sort of like the first chapter of that, and I handed that to my sister, and that was the way that I revealed to my sister that I wasn't a Christian anymore. She actually took it pretty well, and that, like, her response, one of the questions later is how did people react, so I'll go into that later. But anyways, I also told my parents. We went to a dinner. It was we went to this dinner theater thing that my mom had gotten these tickets for, and so we were sat there, and I was very dramatic, like, I got something very important to tell you. I'm really sorry to tell you this stuff. And they thought I was coming out as gay, and so they were actually relieved that it was just that I wasn't a Christian anymore. They weren't happy about it, but I think that relief of me not coming out as gay sort of like cushioned the devastation. Funnily enough, later on, my sister also left Christianity, and she did come out as pansexual, so haha on them, right? But anyways, my point is that was my way of rebuilding. I also made the video that I'm not a Christian anymore. That was part of me, like, being truthful to where I was at the moment, and not feeling like a fraud, because I'm just all about honesty. I'm all about truth, and not being honest about that part of my life just felt like being a fraud. And so in order to start to rebuild, I had to show the world that I was destroyed, completely and utterly destroyed. I started from zero in a way. And so yeah, and then again, I searched for the truth. As I searched for the truth, I came to the ultimate, I don't know if I would call it a decision, but I sort of did decide. The truth is really, the absolute truth is just not knowable. At least on this realm, on this world, I don't think you can actually find the absolute truth. And if you can, nobody has found it, really, not without a shadow of a doubt. And if somebody is gonna find it, I mean, what are the chances that it's gonna be me? And it could be me, it could very well be me, but I don't want to spend my life looking for that, because I don't really care anymore. That was the ultimate thing. I all my life I clung on to this belief that I had to know the ultimate truth to live purposefully, to live a good life, to know what to look forward to understand everything. And then the truth is, you don't have to understand everything. And that's when I really, like, changed my purpose. And my purpose now, it is just the pursuit of happiness and perpetual growth. That's why I created this channel. Much later on, I created this channel because that's my motto, perpetual growth. I just want to be happy and continue going forward and growing, learning, growing as a person, growing my perspective, growing skills, just growing perpetually, perpetual growth. And so that's what I'm all about. I'm just being happy and growing, being a happy growing boy. And leads me to point number 4, which is, what is it that if I gave up on finding the truth, what is it that I believe now? And that next point number 5, is the questions. And so Point number 4, I'll introduce with this question. It is in Spanish. It says, Yo también lo dejé hace varios años, which means that this person also left Christianity a few years ago. And so he is asking, what do you believe? What is your thought of life now? And so, like I said, I don't know what the ultimate truth is. I can't for certainty. I can't with full certainty say this is it and that is not it, and that is my belief that I can't really know. There's a couple things that I've sort of oscillated between, and that is like either we're in a simulation, which it's sort of a cop out, because if we are in a simulation, then what lies outside of the simulation, you would still have to figure out what the reality is there beyond that simulation. Is it another simulation and another and another and another, and how deep does the layer go? So I left sort of that theory behind because it feels like a cop out. You can't really know. But and so right now, what I sort of ascribe to, but I'm not dogmatic about anything, but I ascribe to this because it just sort of explains everything to me. Because there is one thing that I do absolutely believe, and it's that there is power in belief. Whatever it is that you believe, whether positive or negative, that thing has power. And belief has the power to create or destroy, and it has the power to bring things or expel things away. I don't know what the source of it is. I don't know exactly why it is, but believing something deeply inside of you, not just like external, like, well, I believe it's gonna rain today. No, that's not like deeply inside of you, believing something. It has an effect on the outer world and your inner world. I don't know why that is, but I believe that 100%. And so the thing that I do ascribe to that really does explain all that. Like I said, I do sort of oscillated between the simulation theory, because that does also explain everything very neatly. But the other thing that I sort of ascribe to now is it has different names. There's some of it in Buddhism and Hinduism, and more secularly it is called like the cosmic play. So it is sort of like, let me explain what it is to me, because I don't really ascribe to any religion or a specific belief outside of what I believe myself, because based on the things that I've read. And this is what why am I going like in circles trying to explain this thing? This is already 23 minutes long. Holy crap. Okay, anyways, the cosmic play, if you're not familiar with it, I don't like 100%, that's not the thing, but it's the closest. Anyways, basically I believe, or not believe, but I think we come from this sort of source energy, or one big entity. So if you want to describe it as a god or a pure light or something like that, I think that we all come from that one thing. So that one thing is an intelligent force, and that intelligent force, I don't know the reason for it. Maybe that thing was just really bored, or they just wanted to experience something more, but they decided to create this world and populate it. And in populating it, they decided to sort of like connect to each individual, to live as each individual as a different persona, and forgetting that they are that one big force. So basically, you and I, we are the same. At the core, we're that same energy. So we are the same entity in a way, if you want to say it like that. We're all God. You're God, I'm God. The person that you buy candy from is God. The garbage man is God. You know, Ryan Gosling is God. Taylor Swift is God. There was no doubt about that one. But and the guy who murdered someone is God. The pedophile is God. You know, the everybody's God. You know, and it's just like, one, like, I don't know if this is the reason, but I feel like it was just wanting to have this all these different experiences, and that might just be the reason. I don't know what it is. Okay, I'm not dogmatic about this. I'm not saying you should believe this. I'm not saying I fully believe this, but it just makes sense to me. Okay, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what their actual truth is. I just believe that belief has power, and I guess I couldn't completely get away from the mysticism of it all. I just feel like in Christianity I experienced so many different things that, yeah, at least at the moment, cannot be explained just naturally. There has to be some sort of more mystical or supernatural explanation for some of the things that I experienced during Christianity. And so I gravitate towards that mysticism and supernatural. And I've landed on this thing where maybe I'm just like narcissistic like that, and I want to think of myself as God, even though I do think you are equally God. And the worst person you've ever met in the world is equally God. But I don't know. I don't know, my friend. Let's get to the questions now. The first one is atheism or agnosticism. I feel like because of my answers, I've sort of explained that already, and I don't like to call myself agnostic, because when you say that, people already assume a lot of things about you, and I do feel like I'm more spiritual than an agnostic person would describe themselves as. But I technically am agnostic because I'm not ascribed to anything completely in full. I'm not dogma. I don't think I haven't made a video in a long time, and I'm not used to speaking so much. Anyways, I'm not dogmatic about anything, and I'm not religious about anything. And if I saw proof of a God, if I felt truth or felt proof of something different, and something pulled me, and I was presented with the absolute truth of something, and I dug into it, and I believe that I'm open to anything being true, really. So that's what it is. I'm agnostic. I'm not atheist because I don't completely reject the idea that there possibly is a God, because, as I said, I do believe there is a God, and we are him or her or they or X or whatever you want to call it. Next question: how did you decide to leave? How did people react? This is the question that I said I would get to. How did people react? How did I decide to leave? I just felt like a fraud if I didn't. I just felt like I wasn't a Christian anymore because I didn't believe in it anymore, and I left it behind because I felt like if I stayed without my heart being in it, I was a fake and a fraud. And I've always been about truth and honesty, and I know that those are some of the principles that Christianity instilled in me. But just because I wasn't a Christian anymore doesn't mean I have to leave some of the principles that I still value to this day. And one of those values is truth. And I had to leave. I have to be truth. I have to be true to myself. And being in Christianity while not believing in it was not truth. So that's why that's how I decided to leave. There was no other option. How did people react? Well, my sister, and her reaction was interesting, because basically her reaction was like, wait, is that a thing? Is that possible? Can we decide to not be Christians anymore? It's like she had her own journey of doubts and stuff, but she didn't feel like she could get out. She didn't feel like she could ever not be Christian. She just felt even if she had these doubts, and even if she stopped believing, there was no option. She had to stay in that journey for the entirety of her life. And I sort of like opened that door for my family, really. I mean, my parents still call themselves Christians, but my dad doesn't really practice it anymore, and my mom is in church, but she has grown a lot since then. And I don't know. Like, some people, I feel like, do benefit from religion, and I feel like my mom is one of those people. Although sometimes I wish she could come closer to where my sister and I are now, ideologically. Anyways, let's go to my parents. I think I already explained how they reacted. They were not happy about it, but they were relieved that I wasn't coming out as gay. And I guess they just always had the hope that I would come back. And since I didn't really change as a person, I was just changing this belief. I think they thought, no, he's just confused. He's confused for a little while. He's gonna come back. And I think they're still waiting for me to come back. But it's not gonna happen. And publicly, a lot of people actually responded positively, because this is a universal thing that happens to a lot of Christians. They have doubts, and a lot of them feel trapped, and a lot of them feel like they have no option but to stay in Christianity. And so, by me revealing that I wasn't a Christian anymore, while I was so outspoken about it before, it sort of gave them the freedom to even think about it. And yes, a lot of people were disappointed, and some people were angry, and some people were praying for me to come back, and some people were saying that, oh, you were never a Christian. You were never a Christian, even though you were born in Christianity and you gave your heart to Jesus and you devoted your life to him and you read the Bible from front to back more than once, and you were in the worship team, and you were a youth leader, and you were completely devoted to him. You were never a Christian. And then when I say these things, people say, well, why are you saying so many things that you were? Now, none of that makes you a Christian. The only thing that makes you a Christian is God's grace. And none of the credit goes to you. And yes, I know, I preached that. Okay, I know the things, but I'm just saying, if I was never a Christian, like 99.99999% of the people that call themselves Christian, they're not Christian either then. Because I was completely honest when I gave my heart to Jesus. I was completely honest about worshiping him. So how was I not a real Christian? Just because it doesn't really fit the narrative of Christians that once you're a Christian, you're always a Christian. Anyways, this is already half an hour long. I'm so sorry. And if you're still here, you're still interested in my words, and if you like to hear me talk about things and stuff, this is more like a podcast. I could do stuff like this if there's any interest. It doesn't have to be about religion. I do have thoughts about many things that I don't really share that much with people, because people don't have the patience of listening to me in a conversation, because I make pauses and dramatic pauses and just pauses to think, and people talk, and then I don't feel like interrupting them. And again, this is why I wrote notes, to keep myself on track, and I am so off track. It's crazy. Okay, this person also wrote in Spanish. He said, I did the same thing. Yo no sé si mi familia algún día lo... I don't know if my family will understand it one day. Did your family understand it? And like I said, I feel like they still have that hope that I'll come back. And obviously they do think that if I continue to go on this road, I will go to hell, which is kind of crazy to think about, that your parents think you're going to hell. And I don't know that they fully understand it, in a way that it doesn't really make sense to them, my reasonings for not being a Christian anymore, because in some ways I'm more Christ-like than so many Christians, that it's like, I mean, you say you're not a Christian anymore, but you're a better Christian than the Christians I know, right? So it's like, what's that about? How can you not be a Christian if you show so many of the Christ-like features and qualities? And so I don't think they fully understand that it's just this thing where I'm so enamored about the truth and living in truth that Christianity for me is a lie. And the longer I spend away from Christianity, the more I see it as a lie, and the more I see how religion, Christianity, but religion in general, has just keeps harming the world and keeps the world from really progressing into the future. It's just like religion clings onto these traditions and beliefs of the past. They can't let go of it, and so they try to keep a hold of it, and it stunts evolution. And I'm not talking about like the evolution of we came from the animal ancestors and that. I'm talking about the evolution of humanity, of the evolution of us, our perspectives and our thoughts about what is right and what is wrong. Because a long time ago, it was okay to have slaves, you know. Not too long ago, it was okay to discriminate against people because of the color of their skin. And I mean, people still do that a lot to this day. My point is, I'm getting off track again. The point of this question is, like, I don't think they will fully ever understand it unless they come to where I am ideologically right now. But, you know, they accept it, and that's what's important. They accept it, and I mean, they have to. And thankfully, they didn't disown me, and I don't have the best relationship with my father right now, but part of it is because he just leaves. Why do I struggle? Live and leaves. He lives in a different province in Canada, and now my mom moved back to that place. Anyways, I don't know if I ever told you that my parents are divorced now. I feel like all of that started because I opened that door, and you're gonna say, "Oh, there it is! So your life did change, huh? You went away from God, and but it changed for the better. My parents are much better off divorced than they were together, and I'm much better off now than I ever was. I feel like I'm a much better person now than I've ever been, and I'm happier than I've ever been, and I'm living a purposeful life, and I have so much hope. Anyways, you know, eventually things did change for the better. Anyways, you know, I don't know if they understand, and I hope that your parents, you know, at least accept you the way that my parents have accepted that I'm not a Christian anymore. I mean, I feel like it does make it easier for them that I'm not out there doing drugs and just killing people, something like that. You know, some people think that if you're not a Christian anymore, you're a horrible person now, and that's just not the case. Like I said, you know, it's subjective, but I am a better person now than I've ever been. And I hope that you too are a better person now that you're not Christian. And I hope that your parents and your family can see that. And they can see that you're a good person, and they can accept that you just don't believe the same things that they believe. Here's another question. Have you ever had doubts or gone back since you left? I don't know that I've had doubts about, like, I mean, me leaving was because I had doubts, you know, because I had doubts that I could not resolve, because I had questions that nobody could answer, and the only one that could answer was God, and he never showed up to answer them. And so that goes back to, have you ever gone back since? No, I haven't gone back because I never got the answers to those questions. I never got those doubts resolved. And the only way I would ever go back to Christianity is if literally God showed up and talked to me. And even then, you know, I would obviously, if he shows up, I would believe that he's real, but that would still not make me follow him again. We would have to have this really deep conversation about all the doubts and questions that I have, and he would have to have really good answer for those things, right? So I would never go back to Christianity at this point unless, like I said, God literally showed up. He was gracious, kind, and explained everything to me. Not only the questions that I had back then and still have now, and the doubts that made me doubt my whole existence, but also an explanation of why the heck did it take this long? Why not say stuff back then when I was completely committed and I wanted just a little simple itty bitty sign? So that's the only, I've never gone back don't plan on ever going back. Like I said, I do sort of gravitate towards this spirituality and mysticism of it all. I do believe that I myself am a god. I do sort of believe in the, not sort of, I just don't like to, because it gets all this woo woo when you say that you believe in the law of attraction, but I don't believe in the law of attraction. I just believe that if you believe something, that has power, and if you believe that you're going to get something, you can get that thing. So some people describe it in the law of attraction kind of way. Some people say the law of assumption. There's a lot of names for it. I just believe in belief. And have I ever had doubts about being in this place? No, I feel like I'm just going forward, you know? And I feel like going back to Christianity is going backwards. And I don't plan on going backwards. Let me tell you that. Now, this question says, is there anything you miss about being a Christian? There is nothing that I miss about being a Christian, but I do miss the community of it all. I miss being able to go weekly to this place where you gather with all these like-minded people, and is especially as an adult, that just makes it so much easier to commune with people and talk with people and make friendships and nurture friendships. It's like right now as an adult, because I don't go to church anymore, I don't really have this place where I go to frequently, where I can make or build these relationships that can grow over years, right? And because I'm not a Christian, even the friendships that I did make in the church back then, we just have so many ideological differences, and I'm not opposed to being friends with Christians. In fact, I have made connections with people that are friends of my mom that are Christian, and I have nothing against them, but it does make it really hard to have a really close relationship with someone, because there's just such an opposing view of life itself that it's just not congruent. It doesn't mesh completely well to be completely honest and open with someone when you know that they believe that you're going to hell and that you're a sinful, dirty person because your sins are not your. Anyways, I think you get it. So I don't miss anything about being a Christian. I do miss the community aspect of religion, and it's really hard to, like, a few months ago I did go to this non-denominational church where it was sort of this, like, the sermon was simply this motivational thing, and basically I just didn't go back because the majority of people were very old people, and I don't have anything against old people. I don't know, I felt out of place. It's not like I feel in place with young people either. I just don't know, communally. I don't know where my place is. I know where my place is in the world and with myself and with my purpose, my career, and my happiness and all that stuff. But just in the community aspect of things, I don't really have a group where I feel that I belong with. I don't have a group of friends. I'm lucky that I have my sister. She's my best friend. But yeah. And those are the two things I'm missing in life right now, is just sort of like a community and a romantic relationship. If I had that, I'd have literally everything that I want and need. Okay, this next question. Are you afraid of what might happen after death? About eternity. And I'm actually, that was a worry when I left Christianity at the moment, where it was like, what if I'm wrong? But I just couldn't trust in the God that I had believed in anymore. And because I don't know what the ultimate truth is anymore, I don't know what happens after we die, and that used to be scary. There's just the uncertainty of it, but I don't worry about it anymore, because I do think if there is a God, and that God is a loving God, why would he cast me? Like, why would he just completely destroy me? That would be just trivial, just arbitrary to just throw me to hell simply because I didn't believe something that logically just doesn't truly make sense. It's like punishing people for not being cheap, like not cheap as in not buying expensive stuff, but the animal, but that cheap. And God does describe people as cheap in the Bible a lot. So maybe, the God of the Bible does want people to be cheap. And you are supposed to fear God and all this. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about the specific of things right now, but I'm not scared about what happens after death, because if there is life after death, I am confident that just like I've made a purposeful, happy existence in this realm, I'll find a way to do that in the next one. Maybe it's maybe I'm just delusional like that, but if there is life after death, I will make the best of it. I will find a way to make it great. Just like I found a way to make my life great. Some people might think that the way that I live my life is not happy, it's not great. But I am so happy, I'm so fulfilled, I'm so excited about the future and what's to come. And there is no room for death in that. Like, I don't think about that. If I think about it now, yes, logically, I'm gonna die eventually. I could die right now, I could die tomorrow, but why even think about that? When it happens, it happens. And that's it. But why even think about it now when it could happen at any moment? I'd rather just live my life as if it's never going to happen. That's it. People say you should live your life as if it's your last day. No, live your life as if you're gonna live forever, and try to build something that's gonna be purposeful for the long term. Now that's how I view it. Anyway, so not afraid at all, not worried at all. If there's life after death, it's gonna be great. For me, for you, for everybody else. And the last thing is, what would you say to someone who is questioning their beliefs? And like I said, I'm not here to make you question your beliefs. I'm just here to share my journey with you. And if that helps you in some way, that is lovely. That is beautiful. I'm very happy to help you in that way. But if you are questioning your beliefs, my advice to you is just excuse me. My advice to you is that there is a reason why you're questioning them. There is something that is just not clicking for you, and so you owe it to yourself to follow that doubt. You owe it to yourself to ask those questions. And the one thing I say, like, I'm not, maybe the answers that you get will lead you back into Christianity. Maybe they'll lead you to a different religion. Maybe they'll lead you to where I am right now. Maybe they'll lead you to something completely different that doesn't even exist at the moment. Maybe you'll make up your own belief system. Wherever it may lead you, my advice is that if you have questions, if you are doubting your belief, just be open-minded to the answers that you find. That's it. Just don't close yourself to get the answers that you want to get. Actually be open that you might get uncomfortable answers, that you might get answers that don't align with what you currently believe. Just be open-minded. Just be open to hearing different perspectives, different views. And at the end of the day, we're just here to live our lives, Just for me, my purpose, I'm pursuing happiness. If I wanna share with somebody a purpose, is that just pursue what makes you happy and grow every day in some way. Perpetual growth, my friend. That's why I'm here. That's why this channel exists. If you want to follow on this journey of perpetual growth, this video that is 50 minutes long. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I didn't go into detail about anything. I just this is a surface level video. So if you want me to go into detail about any of what I said, if you want me to talk more about this, if you have specific questions about it, maybe I'll make a separate video answering a specific question. Maybe I'll make another video answering all the questions that there are. Maybe nobody will watch this video. I don't care. I just wanted to put this out there because this is part of my growth. And when I look back upon my videos and my journey, I want to see how I grew. And 10 years from now, I want to look back on this video and I'm going to say, hey, you know, that is what I thought back then. And I've grown so much since then. And that's a beautiful person. But I'm more beautiful now. And that is a gigantic human being. But I'm so much taller now. Not physically, because physically it's just, I don't think I'm going to grow anymore. I'm 33 years old, the age of Jesus Christ. But I've grown so much since then. And I'm so much happier now than I was then. And that is the purpose of this video. Just to catalog the growth and see how far I go. And I hope you find value in that. And I hope that you too decide to have perpetual growth. I will see you later if I see you. Bye-bye.